Welcome back to Exploration Arcanum. My name is Jason. My guest today is Daveeda. Daveeda is a tarot reader, psychic, digital artist, and co-host of the Metaverse and Metaphysics Twitter Spaces. Today, Daveeda is going to tell us about her journey with tarot and give tips for beginner tarot readers that you can use in your own practice. I want to thank Daveeda for coming on the show. I'll include all of her links in the description below. So, Daveeda, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me. This is so exciting.
It is, and I really appreciate you doing it. So, what we're going to do in this conversation is this: we're going to talk a little bit about your background, how you got into your practice, but then I want to help any new people who maybe come behind us who are getting into tarot, getting into their psychic abilities. Any tips and tricks you would offer to help a new person do what you do? How does that sound?
That sounds fantastic. I wish I had that when I was getting into it, so that I would love to help others.
Exactly. I think about that all the time when I'm like, I wish someone had told me that. So, okay, well, let's start from the beginning. So, when did you first discover tarot, and when did you first start exploring your gifts?
Good question. So, I actually was reminded of this last week. we were talking. So I was raised very in a very religious household, very kind of sheltered from things that are more esoteric. And I was watching a show when I was younger that was one of my favorite shows called Pretender. And it had an episode in it that had the picture of the Wheel of Fortune from tarot. And it sparked a curiosity in me because I'd never seen anything like that before. And I was like, what is that? It sounds so different and unique. And what is the Wheel of Fortune? And where does that, if that's what that means, then what are other things mean? And it just kind of sparked an interest in myself to research and to find out what else is out there because, I'd never heard of it before. So, what is tarot? And I did ask, and I was told that it was not something that I needed to know about, and it wasn't very safe. It's almost like they equated it to the Ouija board. And the Ouija board was definitely something that some of my friends at that time were playing around with, and that was by the devil and don't ever talk about it. So, of course, I wanted to research more because it sparked my interest. Like, what is this? It's different. And then it kind of got put on hold in my brain for a while as I was going through teenagehood and growing up and following the path that I was taught. And then things changed. I got married and then divorced. And after that, I realized that life is definitely a lot more. There's a lot more to life than what I was told. And I was always called to unique and different things. I had a curiosity for things that were from overseas or the past or history or the unknown. I even, for a while, considered going into archaeology because I wanted to get into just find out what was out there because I knew there was more. And being on my own and an adult, I felt like I was able to grow and explore and see what was out there. And I didn't get my first tarot deck until my second marriage, and and he actually got it for me because I wouldn't stop talking about it. I don't remember what it would just come up randomly. I'm like, yeah, I should totally get a tarot deck. I've been looking into it, and I've done research and just never bought it because I think there was still a part of me that was like, oh, it's bad, but that's just the ingrained part that you have to grow out of, right? Um, so,
Is there a difference? Well, actually, there is a difference. But what, in your view, what's the difference between tarot cards and oracle cards? Because I know that certain people use particular types.
yeah, so I actually have both. I love them both, but they totally have a different feeling. It was explained to me once that tarot is very blunt and will get right to the point and will just tear right through to the truth and tell you what you need to hear, not sugar coated. The oracle deck is like an old grandmother guiding you along your path. Like it's very calm compared to tarot could just be like, dude, this is like the worst thing you've ever done. Don't go here. You need to, you know what I mean? Everything's about to fall apart, but it's okay. You just have to do it this way. Versus the tarot, or versus Oracle, it's a little bit softer in when it gets to its meaning. Yeah. I love them both. There's always a place for both.
I haven't. I mean, I have a digital tarot card system that I have on my phone that I use. But I own a Oracle card deck. It's the ISIS Oracle card deck, and because
Nice.
I'm a big archaeology nerd too, so I knew we were going to connect. So
I actually had to special order an ISIS deck because I wanted the original, what they found in Egypt. And this is why I got into tarot and like fell into it deep. Um, Tarot comes from Egypt. All of the symbols, the original symbols, come from ruins in Egypt. And it was originally to be a guide. It wasn't necessarily supposed to be a divination tool, but it turned into a divination tool. I don't remember what century, but it was a long time ago. It turned in. They used it to help with divination. But yeah, these came from originally. They came from Egypt. I didn't bring that deck to play with me, but that particular deck is just gorgeous because you can see the history. You can see the ancient. You can feel the ancient energy. Like it's just beautiful.
is there a well? Okay, let me back up a bit. How does tarot inform your art? Because you're a digital artist. Ev- Everyone, we're going to tell you right now on Thursday nights, Daveeda is one of the co-hosts of Metaverse Metaphysics. If you come, you get to see her art in person, and you get a free POAP. And every 10 visits, you get a free reading with Daveeda. We're going to get that part out first. Have to say that. But how does tarot factor into your creation process?
So tarot for me it's a very very much intuitive. I don't plan on seeing what cards I'm going to see. I have a question or an intention and then I just let the universe talk. When I'm developing my art, I do the same thing. Like I don't sometimes I have a vision in my head, but I know the feeling that I want to evoke. And I use those words to create the prompts because I use AI. So I create the art with the words and the feelings. And it's amazing what it does because you have to figure out ways to describe something that hasn't been created in a way that the computer can understand to create that picture to evoke the feeling that you want. And it's like magic. And just like tarot, like it's magic. I love putting a prompt in and seeing what comes out and seeing how close it was to what I had in my head. And sometimes it gets a little creepy because I'm like the AI is in my brain. It knows what I want to see.
Is there well, no, that's true. I get that a lot. Is for a new person coming into tarot. Okay, so say it's me. I'm just getting into tarot. You're the only tarot reader I know. So, what would you say is the first thing a new tarot a person interested in tarot reading should do? How do you select the right deck for you?
Good question. So since I'm a history buff, I couldn't find the ISIS deck when I first started out, so I got one of the original decks. And one of the original decks, if you just look up classic tarot, it's the ones that come up with all like the hand drawn. They look like the really old style, but not Egyptian. So this is like the next set from that. So I started with that one because that one has the most um, guides and the most original. It's the beginner's guide, and you can buy usually a book that goes with it that talks about how to read tarot. So when I first started out, I got the one of the older looking decks, which is more of the classic deck, and I got a guide to go with it. And I read the guide from cover to cover. I learned how to do spreads. I learned how to cleanse your deck and how to store your deck, how to take care of your deck and how to connect with it. And I did all of it, cover to cover. And then from there, I put the book down for a while and I just carried the deck around with me. That's how you connect with it. Carried it around with me and I kept it in a pouch. That way it was safe from other people's energy, but mine because it was mine. And I kept it on my person for about a week just so I could connect with it. Because you want your energy mixed with your deck. That way your intentions come through and the universe's energies and intentions come through easier. But I would definitely say you have to find a deck that you feel drawn to, whether it is a traditional deck or whether it is an art style deck or one that's an offshoot. Like I'm personally creating my own deck that doesn't follow the traditional cup, sword, pentacle, wand. It's a different version, but it has the same premise behind it and the same feelings behind it. So it's not about what it is, it's about the intention behind it.
Gotcha. So, because and it actually, I'm glad you mentioned that because I growing up because I'm a '90s occultist, so we uh there was a role playing game that I used to love called Mage the Ascension, and
Yes.
one of their supplements was a tarot deck, and I still have it.
Nice.
And it was all based on the game. And so sometimes when I really want to, like, let's get crazy with this sometimes, right? I'll I'll break out that deck, and it, even though it's not quote unquote real, it has the same effect because the pictures have a meaning behind each picture, right? So I get
Exactly.
what you're saying. Yeah, I definitely agree with what you're saying there.
And you
Um,
have to understand, it's not that it's not real. It's still made by, I mean, the original tarot deck was made by a human too. So it's definitely like, yeah, it's totally the intention behind it. I love that.
so now that I have my deck and I carried it on my person for a period of time, what should I do first before I embark on a reading? Like, do I just shuffle the cards and go? Is there some type of ritual you suggest that a person do first, or what do you think about that?
That's a good question. So, you have to really listen to yourself and your guide and your gut and your intuition on that. Because depending on what you want out of the session is going to depend on what you need to do. Most of the time, I will sit for a couple minutes with my deck and think about what my intention is for that period, whether it's going to be a question to the universe, whether it's going to be guidance, whether it's going to be a yes no, whether it's going to be a past, present, and future spread, whether it's going to be a mind, body, spirit, or if I'm just like doing a check in to see what my next week looks like, because you can do that. You can do a check to see what your next couple months is going to be like. So, depending on what you want to do, is really going to depend on what you need. Whether you need to sit and meditate for a little bit, if you're going to check on your chakras to see if they're open, or if you're in alignment or out of alignment, because you can do that with tarot too. That one, I would sit and meditate for a couple minutes just to make sure you're centered and connected so that when you do the reading, because that one takes more cards, that the right cards come out. Because that one, I would usually take the deck, shuffle, I would cut it 3 times and then restack it. And then, as long as your intention is right for that one, I would just pull the top 7 cards for it. But if I have a question, I'm going to just sit and shuffle and let a card fall out or jump out at me, and I'll know that's the one I need. If I'm being more intentional as far as, okay, I need to see Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or the year, or if I'm asking a question and then I want to dive more, there's some crazy spreads with many different cards. So it's all going to depend on if you want it to be more spontaneous and random, or if you want to feel like you have pulled from the top or from the bottom. Some people do that. There's a lot of different options that you can do.
Now, the spread that you use on Thursdays, that's a just a 3 card spread from cards that come out as you're shuffling, right?
It is actually I let it be more random. So I have done everything from 2 cards to 7 cards. There was one night a couple weeks ago that was 7 cards jumped out. Um, and I for that one I usually just start with universe, is there anything that would benefit this group tonight? And then I shuffle. Is there anything that this group needs to hear tonight? And you have to be intentional about what you're saying, because if I say show me a card, I've had it a couple times where it's definitely been a card for myself and not someone else. So I have to direct, where do I want my energy? I need to make sure that I have connected to the group and send it for that. Now, if I'm doing a reading for, say, you, how I start out, I would start out by saying, are you okay if I connect your energy? Because you need to give that permission. I can't just do a tarot reading one-on-one with you without asking. And then once we're connected, then I'll ask you what your intention is, and then I'll draw for you. But as I'm drawing, I have to think, okay, I'm pulling this card. Sometimes I'll say my guides, my higher self, the universe, please show me the card that needs to happen, or that needs to be shown to Jason. Is there something that he needs to know? Or if you had a specific question, then that's what I would do.
Gotcha. Are there any misconceptions about tarot that you hear that you wish people would stop saying? Anything that just gets on your nerves?
That's a great question. Tarot is not dangerous. I was told that my whole life. Tarot is dangerous. It's witchcraft. It's evil. If you play around with that's a gateway. It's bad, right? So that's annoying. Tarot, I wish people understood more that tarot really does, it's a way for the universe to talk. They're not, the tarot deck doesn't know. It is the universe. And it's almost like a speak and spell for the universe, if I had to make it really simple. Like this is a really easy way for your higher self to talk to you, for your guides to talk to you, for your God to talk to you, for your universe to talk to you. It's completely on intention in what you are making it. Since we create our reality, this is just helping us to interpret what's around us and what we need to know.
Nice. Well, Daveeda, thank you so much for joining me today. Where can people follow you, find more, and find your art?
Thank you so much for asking. I basically am based on Twitter or X. I have a link tree in my bio that you can see all of my work that is up for sale. I'm also the artist for the Xena project, the Xena WAP POAP. I'm connected through Twitter as well, so that should be linked right now. So I'm the artist for that project, and I'm on most of the blockchains. I'm on OpenSea and Rarible and a whole bunch of different places. So check out my link tree. I also have tips on, and I did just post on Twitter the other day for some free some free PFPs. So yeah, hop on in and download your PFP.
Daveeda makes the best PFPs, guys. So,
Thank you.
so